In this lesson, we will learn about context menus. So the first thing we would do, so I have an empty Android app, and the first thing I'm going to do is, as usual, add a linear layout vertical and set them to match underscore parent. The next thing I'm going to do is I will just add a list view to my layout, and the purpose of this list view is that when we click or when we do a long press on it, a context menu should come up. So that is the design. Let's move to the main activity. So in the main activity, let us declare what all we have defined. So we have defined a list view. So let me just declare a list view. So list view, let's call it list view. We have declared a list view. Let's also declare a string array, and these would be the values we would show in the list view. So let's say call them contacts, and say the string array has the names of those companies that students from EduFect would want to apply for. So the values we have put here are EduFect, Google, say Infosys, and Accenture. So these are the 4 values we have put in this string array, and we will declare a int, say position. Why are we declaring this int? So that position will store whichever was the list view item on which we did the contextual menu. So we will use it later and then it will become clear. So let us now initialize our variables. So list view is equal to list view find view by id r.id.list view. Next, what do we need to do? So in the list view, we will need to create our array adapter. So array adapter, and what's the type of it? It's an array adapter of strings because our values are strings here. And let's give it a name, say adapter is equal to new array adapter, and this will take the parameters this comma android dot r dot layout dot simple list item 1. So that's the constant we give it to it. And what are the values we want to display here? Contact. So we will just pass that array here. So we have done that, and then what do? We will add it to the list view. So list view dot set adapter, and we will put the adapter here. And then we need to do one more thing here. So this list view, we need to build context menus here. So for that we will register for context menu, and we will add the list view. So now once we register it for context menu, whenever we'll do a long press, a context menu will open up. So now that we have defined it, we will need to handle those long presses to show those context menus. So let us start defining the context menu. For that, we need to define this method on create context menu. So this is the method that will get called when the long press happens. So we will declare a context menu. It takes a view v, a context menu dot context menu info. So these are the parameters this method takes, and let us start declaring it. So the first thing we want to do here is, let me just resolve it. So the first thing we want to do is know which was the list item that was clicked on which the long press happened, and just save its index in position. So for that we will do adapter view dot adapter context menu info. So we will get this field. So from the adapter view we'll get the adapter context menu info, and for that we will just dot adapter, we will just cast our menu info in this variable, and now we will get our position or the index which we will save. So info dot position. So now from the menu info which we casted it into info, we have figured out the position or the index which was clicked. Now that we have done that and we have saved it, and the reason is that we will use it when we are handling the context menus. The next thing we need to do is we need to create and display the context menu. So let us do that. So for that the first step we need to do is super, we'll need to call its parent menu comma v comma menu info. So it's exactly the same call on create context menu, so we're just calling it for super, and now we will start setting the values. So set header title, and let's call it select. So let's say the header title is select, and now we want to add two kinds of contact frameworks here, call or SMS. So what do we do here? So we will say menu dot add, and these three parameters we can give as 0, they are not very important in this context, and we will just say call. So that was the first context menu we wanted to show. The second is SMS. So add, and again 0 comma 0 comma 0, and we will say SMS. And we have created a context menu. So we have created a context menu where the title is select, and we have two options, call and SMS. So now what we need to handle is that when the call is clicked or the SMS is clicked within the context menu, we should be able to handle it. So let us now define that part of our code. So for that we need to define another method, which is public boolean on context item selected. So when a context item is selected, we will need to handle it, and we will get a menu item, and let's call it item. So when that context menu was clicked, we will need to handle it here in the on context item selected, and we have gotten the menu item that was clicked. So now from the menu item we can get the title. So the title would be the value we gave here, call or SMS. So if this item is title is call, so dot equals call. So we need to handle it as a call. So what will we show here? Let's show a toast. So a toast is the easiest way to show that we have been able to handle it. So we'll just make a toast, get application context, and let us say what we want to show there is calling, and we want to show which company are we calling. So how will we get the company? So we know the position in the variable position, so we will just say contacts position will tell us. So calling plus contacts position, and then we need to specify the toast dot the duration. So length, let's say length long, and dot show. So we have now created our toast here, and if it is not the case, so we'll do else if item dot get title dot equals SMS. So which is the other case. So in that case we'll again show a toast. So exactly the same thing I'm going to do. Toast dot make text get application context, and what do we show in this case? Say messaging, and again the name of the company which we will get from contacts, the duration of the toast, and now that the toast has been created we will just show it. So these are the two options, and if we have not been able to handle it, we will just return false. So this tells us that we have not been able to return it to handle it. Otherwise, in both these cases, what we will do, we have successfully been able to handle it, so we will just return true. So in both these cases, we will just return true. And what does that return true tell us? That return true tells the Android system that this context menu item selection was successfully handled by this method. So now our code is complete. We will just go and start compiling our code to run it. So I have started compiling it, and the build is happening, and the APKs will get installed, and the APK has come up. So we can see a list view with all the 4 items, and let me do a long press on edUffect. So I do a right click, and this is a context menu that has come up. So on edUffect I clicked it, and I get select as the title, and the 2 options call and SMS. And if I click on call, what do I get? Calling edUffect as we wanted it to be. Let's do the same thing on Google. I get a context menu. Let me click on SMS. So I get messaging Google. The same thing I can do on Infosys. I'll get a call. On Accenture, I can do the same thing, and I can get messaging Accenture. So here we have been able to create a context menu and also handle the clicks on the context menu.